He is the man who has stated time and time again that he will bring the Republican Party together. Only he can unify this fractured band of common sense and cuckoo conservatives. And if he were the nominee, he would do whatever it takes to bring this splintered party together. So why then does Donald Trump say there is no need to do any such thing now that he's heading for the nomination? They have sacrificed their lives to be the best of the best, but a group of black female cadets at West Point may have just put their careers in jeopardy with what is seen as a political statement. Should they be reprimanded or even kicked out of the academy? And the evidence is front and center for all to witness. The massive sexual abuse cover-up at Penn State. And still there are people who want to stand by Joe Paterno and football, despite the fact he knew what was happening for decades. We'll snap the ball on that and much more in the free-for-all and challenge America to do on this show what the others don't demand, that you make sense and be intelligent when you call. Snap to it. I'm Ed Berliner. This is The Hardline for Monday, May 9th, 2016.
I think Paul Ryan is soon to be cantored as an Eric Cantor. His political career is over, but for a miracle, because he has so disrespected the will of the people. And as the leader of the GOP, the convention, certainly he is to remain neutral, and for him to already come out and say who he will not support was not a wise decision of his.
The Speaker of the House has managed what some might consider a badge of honor, being a target of the former Republican vice presidential candidate, who is viewed by a growing number of her own party as being less out of touch with reality than a bag of Fruit Loops. This is why we continue to steamroll right to November, and a giddy band of Democrats who, with every Donald Trump and GOP controversy, wet their lips with anticipation of what they and many others believe will be a presidential vote landslide in their favor. This is not what any Republican had in mind, nor do they want to hear at this time. But the prevailing wind has Hillary Clinton and cohorts doing the right thing, letting the GOP self-destruct as Trump himself makes questionable claims about his policies and sees no reason to repair the party's wounds. And over on the Democratic side of things, 2 years in hunting for something, anything to hammer away on from the Benghazi disaster, and now one drop of sweat on the brow of Hillary Clinton. Just one, and it's barely there. Here comes the discourse. We kick to the Monday version of the political animal, seeking to inform rather than pander, as so many others seem to enjoy doing. Begin with the former Democratic senatorial aide and now contributor at The Hill, Brent Budowsky, joined by senior writer for the Weekly Standard, Mark Hemingway. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. And Mark, I'm going to begin with you on the right side of things here. Paul Ryan late today tweeting that he will step down as the chairman of the Republican National Convention if indeed Donald Trump wants. I want to clarify, he did not tweet. It was tweeted out by Christian Schneider, a columnist for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, after talking to Paul Ryan. All right, Mark, what's his game?
Well, you have to remember that Paul Ryan hasn't said he won't support Donald Trump. He just says he can't do it at this time. And I find it very interesting that Sarah Palin and all of these Trump surrogates are out there trying to create tension between Paul Ryan and Trump, where, you know, they should be trying to build bridges. So it really is kind of strange to me that they've taken this head-on confrontational approach when all Paul Ryan has said is that he needs some sort of reassurance.
But do you sense something going on here? Because, quite frankly, this seems as if Paul Ryan has called Donald Trump's bluff, saying, okay, you want me out, get me out. Now see what happens without me. And there are those also who feel that this is Paul Ryan saying, okay, I don't want to become involved here because I'm still looking forward to 2020. Let's be honest, Mark. A politician doesn't do anything without thinking it through, and Paul Ryan's not a stupid politician.
Well, look, Paul Ryan could have run this year and he would have been a very strong contender, but he didn't. I mean, I don't want to say that Paul Ryan doesn't have political motivations. Clearly he does, but I think it's also unfair to say that this wouldn't be a result of having, strong, principles here that he thinks that Trump conflicts with. So I don't know. I wouldn't read too much into that as far as it being a strictly political move.
Brent, how do you think the Democrats are going to use this against Donald Trump and the GOP?
Well, I just think they're going to watch. My take on Paul Ryan, by the way, I think he's a very good and very serious man with very serious convictions. Even though I'm a Democrat, I believe that. I work for Democratic leadership under 3 different speakers, and I'll tell you what he's probably hearing every day right now. He's probably hearing from his Republican House members, you got to give us a little cover. You got to give us a little protection. This guy Trump is going to kill us. That's probably what's going on, and he's trying to navigate that as best he can. And I think he's doing as good a job as he could under the circumstances. The thing that is going to take Donald Trump down in November, I believe by a big landslide, is that he is an incompetent. He is absolutely incompetent by standards of being a president. I call him, you'll be reading this soon in The Hill, the Marie Antoinette of American politics. He can't speak competently about big issues, so he says, let them eat insults. He wants to divert people's attention from his incompetence. And I think Paul Ryan, who is very competent, is well aware of that. And he's hearing a lot of concern from Republican House members. I have no doubt about that.
Let's be fair. Let's be fair for a second here, Brent. You can call him incompetent all you want, but he's got more Republicans voting for him than any other time in recent memory. He has got a huge groundswell behind him. He is presumptive nominee, but he's basically got things locked up. So here's what the people on the Republican side would say to you, Brent. How can you call him stupid and how can you go after him when he's got all these people behind him?
Well, actually, Ed, people on the Republican side say to me what I just said to you in most cases, okay? They are terrified. The 74-year-old socialist beats Donald Trump by 15 points, 13, 15 in most polls. Hillary Clinton beats him by 10 to 15 points. That may work on the Republican side, but when voters have to go into the election booth on Election Day, it is a serious and somber decision, and Donald Trump ain't going to hack it. He's not serious. He's not somber.
All right.
And he runs a politics of insults to hide his incompetence. He can't talk about an issue for 2 days in a row without screwing up.
Mark, let's look at this, too, because he is a Donald Trump more than anything else. And even if you are a fan of Donald Trump, not you specifically, but anybody out there, you have to admit that the man is a ball of contradictions. Because Politico had an article last week where it looked back to the 1990s, if you will, about everything he's contradicted himself on. And now here we sit right now. He has flip-flopped on taxes. He's gone back and forth on them right now. He's basically against the Republican Party on taxes at this point. He's flip-flopped on minimum wage. The minimum wage thing was interesting. In August of last year, he said, I think having a low minimum wage is not a bad thing for this country. That's exactly what he said. But then, just this weekend on Meet the Press, he says, I would like to see an increase of some magnitude, but I'd rather leave it to the states. Let the states decide. If you're to look at that from a completely nonpartisan side of things, that's a cop-out. That's got to have some people worried here. He changes with the wind.
Right. Well, I mean, it certainly reinforces what Budowsky was saying about Trump's incompetence. I mean, I think that there is a large degree of that.
Do you think he's incompetent? You use that word. Do you think he's incompetent?
I do think that he is incompetent on kind of multiple levels. Budowsky's right. He can't speak to serious issues, and he can't do it over any sustained period of time. And the other thing that people aren't talking about right now is that he's kind of incompetent at running a campaign. Now, you look at how he won the primary, and it is kind of a remarkable thing that he did, but now we're looking to the general, and I don't get any sense that Donald Trump has transitioned into the new reality. You have to remember, by this point in the campaign in 2012, Mitt Romney was raising $2 million a day. Donald Trump's fundraising infrastructure at this point for a general election is a joke. Republican fundraisers aren't lining up behind him, and I just don't see how he wins an election in these circumstances when he's running against a Democratic candidate who set a goal of raising $2 billion and might well get there.
Brent, I've got to come to you on the left side here because something else had happened today, and I know I'm going to ask Mark about this likely as well. But today is the 2-year anniversary of the Benghazi Committee. No matter what you think, no matter what people want to say, it is 2 years old today. It is costing the American taxpayer $20 million. And again, I'm going to play this down the line, and people are going to call in the next segment here, and I know they're going to hammer away at me, and they're going to say, how dare you say anything like this? But let's be frank here. It's 2 years, and the worst thing they have found is what? That Hillary Clinton used her own email server. They have yet to find anything. I have to believe that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats are going to hammer away at this, and they're going to say, see, we told you so.
Yeah, the Democrats and Hillary will probably just ignore the Benghazi Committee, which has been a waste of money and a waste of bandwidth. And the big thing it accomplished is to make Kevin McCarthy not the speaker on the Republican side. If you want incompetence, though, it ain't Benghazi. It's Donald Trump saying Saudi Arabia should have the nuclear bomb. Ask a few Israelis or Europeans what they think of that bit of Trump incompetence.
Mark, what about this? Because there are those on the right, people I have spoken to personally, who work inside the Beltway, who have said to them, this is also a waste of money and a waste of time, the Benghazi investigation. Is it, in your opinion?
I think the key phrase you just used there is inside the Beltway. I think outside the Beltway, people regard what Hillary Clinton did in terms of just handing over all sorts of national security secrets to hackers, and almost certainly to Russian and Chinese government. The Russian and Chinese government is regarded as a very serious transgression. On top of that, there are all kinds of minor, well, not so minor details that came out of the Benghazi investigation that people are just ignoring. For instance, Hillary Clinton's old aide, Sidney Blumenthal, was running a spy ring with a dodgy ex-CIA officer.
Yeah, but but wait a minute, Mark. I got to stop you there. I got to stop you here. If they've got this, why has it taken 2 years? Come on, Mark. Get to it. Put somebody under investigation here. Put somebody under indictment here. Nail somebody here.
Well, I can't speak to how the Republican leadership has handled this, but I can speak to how the media has all but blacklisted these revelations and pretending, and they followed the Clinton playbook. They just string this stuff out. They do all kinds of things to drag their feet in terms of not releasing the materials that were subpoenaed to the congressional investigators. And then the moment these bombshells come out and they say, oh, well, this is old news. We've been working on this for 2 years and nobody cares. Well, we should have cared all along and we should care now. But,
look, I'm with you. Look, I'm with you. I want to care. If somebody's done something wrong here, I want them in irons, quite frankly. I absolutely want them there, as I think most of the American people do. But 2 years, it seems like they would have found something by now. I think that's the whole point here. I only got 60 seconds left. Hey, Brent, I want to ask you about this. Donald Trump and Liz Warren getting into a Twitter battle over the weekend here, over the use of the word goofy back and forth. And this is Elizabeth Warren here, who's highly respected on the left and many other people. Isn't this just kind of ridiculous here, that we've got two people of this stature who are going at each other here on social media? This is embarrassing.
Well, I think yes, you're right. The more interesting point is that Elizabeth Warren is taking a cutting-edge role criticizing Donald Trump from the left.
Yeah, but she's getting into a Twitter back and forth with him. Brent, come on, isn't she bigger than this? I mean, just let this go. This is ridiculous. This makes everybody look like kindergarten.
See, Donald, you're going to see a lot more Democratic women, for obvious reasons, going after Donald. He has a little problem dealing with that. She's not running for president. He is.
There you go. We're going to have to leave it there because we are all out of time. But I got to tell you, worst come to worst, hey, the Twitter war is always fun to watch. But come on, people, grow up. Mark Hemingway, Brent Budowsky, gentlemen, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks a lot for joining us. Reminder that you can get on and tell us exactly what you think and do it via video. It's what we're calling the 15 seconds of fame. You get a chance to use this 24/7. Go to newsmaxusa.com. Go to 15 seconds of fame. All you need is a web camera. Look into it. Rant, rave, react. Do it all there. We'll feature it later in the week right here on the fastest 60 minutes of news. Now, the call to action coming up, 1-877-NEWSMAX. We're going to your calls next right here on the Hardline.